So BMW first globally launched the 1 Series in September of 2004 as the E87 5-door hatchback. Fast forward 3 years, and due to great amounts of demand, they further released this 3-door hatchback, famously known as the E81. And although BMW had created a hatchback with rear-wheel drive, which at the time was unheard of, and had excellent handling characteristics, it wasn't the most reliable car ever. Anyway, here's my review. But first off, I want to give a shout out to Arnie for lending me his car so I could do this review. Like usual, if you have any questions on BMW 1 Series ownership, make sure to leave your questions in the comment section down below. This is also Arnie's second car. His first car was a Suzuki Swift, and it was featured on my channel a while back. So if you'd like to view that video, you can do by clicking on that pop-up banner up there. As for the model variant I'm reviewing today, it's the 2010 116i SE with a 2-litre petrol engine currently pushing 121 brake horsepower and 136 pounds-foot of torque. If you live in Germany and have an Autobahn readily available, it will top out at 127 miles per hour and take roughly 9.8 seconds to get up to 60 miles per hour, which is about 1.3 seconds slower than the newer model, so it's not that bad. In terms of what's underneath the bonnet, well, unlike newer models that BMW are releasing, all first-gen entry-level cars came with a 4-cylinder engine. This particular car has the N43 block, so against the older engine, or the pre-facelift, it was now direct injected, so it allowed fuel to flow better and it was a little bit more efficient. But the cars from this era suffered huge amounts of issues, diesels especially, because you had timing chain failures, DPF filters clogging up, and Bristol boost leaks. Some of them issues are pretty scary and will cost you loads to repair, so it's important you do your research before you buy one of these. But if you like to buy a similar car to this one, it will cost you anything between 2.5 grand to 6 grand on the used car market, where prices are literally through the roof. This particular car here costs £5,000 and has an annual tax bill of £170 and insurance no more than £500 a year. It's also ULEZ compliant as it only emits 143 grams per kilometre of CO2. From the outside, it looks very unconventional. It's a nice mix of sharp creases and smooth edges, making itself a true successor of the legendary BMW E33 series. In 2007, it had some enhancements featuring all new bumper designs, largest set of kidney grills to improve airflow, and in back a new set of taillights. The strong chassis also made it weigh in at 1.27 tons, about 10 kilograms lighter than the 5-door variant, so realistically it should be better on the straights. Moving on to the rear seats, and believe it or not, the 3-door version, or 3-door car that we've got here, is the same length as the 5-door car, so you would assume there's going to be loads of space in the back for the rear passengers. But let me try get in and see. So give me 1 second, guys. There we go, feet in, we're in. Okay, so let's pull the passenger seat all the way back. Yeah, there's not much room in here at all. My legs are pretty much jammed up against the passenger seat. I don't have much headroom at all. Yeah, not much headroom at all. I could last in here for about 2 hours, that's about it. But as an owner, are you really gonna buy this car for rear seat passengers? No, so who really cares? Moving over to the main half of the interior of the BMW 1 Series, and as expected from an early 2000s car, the layout is extremely simple and everything is where you want it to be. But I'll tell you what isn't very 2000s is all variants at the time got a push to start ignition. Now that's a great little feature and something very rare. Moving over to the instrument cluster, and as you can see, there's a little screen in the middle. Now to control what's on this screen, you have to use this BC button and the toggle on the left stalk to move up and down, enter, etc. I've noticed within the brightness setting for the instrument cluster, you get 9 choices to make. The bit I don't understand is why BMW have not used a physical knob to choose your desired brightness. Instead, you have to toggle through all these blocks to choose what you want. It's very outdated and old-fashioned, I must say. As for storage in this car, even though it feels quite compact, there's loads of places you could put your items. For example, you've got this raised center console with this bizarre dual storage compartment going on. Very lengthy door pockets, and check this out, storage in front of the gear lever, not behind it. that's fantastic. At the top of the dash, in between the air vents, you've got 3 buttons. One is for the central lock-in, the second one is for the hazards, and the one we're interested in, the one right at the top, is the button for the traction control. Now if you press it once, it will partially disable traction control, and then if you hold it down for a few seconds, it will fully disable it. Now I can imagine that's going to be a lot of fun in the winter. And finally, I thought this car had voice recognition, but unfortunately every time I press the button, nothing really activates. Can someone in the comment section down below help me out as to why that is? But anyway, enough waffle, let's go for a drive. So I'm very excited to drive this car, as it's the first generation of the BMW 1 Series, and if BMW were going to do anything with care and attention, it'll be this car. Since the first generation got facelifted in 2007, it got one very big change, and that is the fact it got electric power steering instead of the hydraulic steering. Now I must admit, the electric steering in this car makes it very neutral and slightly boring, but I've not tested the hydraulic steering in the previous, well, the pre-LCI car, so I can't really comment on that. This car is also on budget tyres, so that could also be a contributing factor, but realistically I need to get behind the older car and see what it's about. But without a doubt, this car does have a brilliant chassis, is somewhat good on fuel, and is fast and quite gutsy if you opt for the 6-cylinder variants. And yes, the interior isn't the best and there's not much boot space at all, but how often do people buy a small car to carry large amounts of luggage and carry around 5 people regularly on a FAR? The 1 Series I'm driving today is quite a low mileage example. It's only done 47 miles on the clock. And don't forget, it's also the SE variant, so it's got the smaller set of alloy wheels. Now I'll be honest, it does benefit the ride of this car, but I personally think the larger set of wheels and that thin tyre wall just gives it that better stance. So yeah, if you can, go for a bigger set of alloy wheels. Makes the car, transforms the car even. But the problem with rear wheel drive cars in general is you get the transmission section eaten into cabin space, and the F20 BMW 1 Series was a sucker for this, as when you sat in that car, your feet were so off center to the right, it was just weird. Now I had the same issue with this car, but it's not as bad as the F20. If you want a nice sporty hatchback though, this is what you need. You sit nice and low, quite far back. The gearbox is right to reach right there. The throws are fantastic. What more could you want? I'm gutted that BMW have gone down the front wheel drive route with the new BMW 1 Series though. Was it not the main selling point for this car to be rear wheel drive? And you know, it stood out the crowd, I thought. And now BMW have lost that kind of. So I don't know what else different they could do with the new car. I guess wait and see until I could drive it and I'll give my opinions. Yeah, don't think it's going to be as good as these two, the first and the second gen. Now I'll be honest, it's not that quick of a car, as you know by the stated figures that I mentioned earlier on, but I think we should do a little bit of a pull. Let's see if the engine makes that nice bit of 4-cylinder noise that you get. Oh, it revs up until 6,000 RPM. It's funny. It's not quick. It's quite revvy. It takes a while to get there, but you know, sounds good. Anyway, now it's time for some point of view driving. So let me just pull over and I'll mount the GoPro to my head and we'll pick up from there. So I'll see you guys in a second. Right, so point of view. What do you guys think of the interior? I know it's a little bit creaky. At the time when this came out, of course, it was proper futuristic, but look, there's some creaks there. It's getting old, it's aging, let's just say. Visibility, I mean, it's all right. It's not too bad. I think this car comes with parking sensors, so it should be fine. In terms of MPG, what are we doing? Let's have a look. 42 miles per gallon. That's fine, that's not too bad. The main competitor to this car though is of course the Mark V Golf. And the Mark V Golf, that's a hatchback. This is a little bit different. They're totally different cars. The Golf is going to be way more reliable without a doubt, but it's going to be your choice at the end of the day. Can you put up with all the issues that a 1 Series is going to give you? That may not be many, but it could also be a lot. It depends on the car you get, to be honest. If it's been serviced regularly, if things have been changed that need to be changed. Of course, we can't forget the 130i. That was a great car. I think that's really unspoken about. No one knows about that car. It's a bit of a dark horse. Yeah, I'll admit the 130i is an absolute weapon. You get about 250 brake horsepower in that car as well. And yeah, it's all you need for British roads. It's got a nice set of mirrors on it as well. From the exterior, they do look quite small, but there's a lot you can see out of them, which is great. Always works out well. Put it that way. Oh, I hate the indicators in this BMW. Look, so you indicate right and then to turn it off. Oh, yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare. But the 11 years this car's been out, it's been kept immaculate by the owner. Look, these dials here have not worn down at all, apart from the volume knob a little bit, but they still feel quite fresh, quite untouched, I'll be honest. So to work the cruise control in this car, you have to pull it upwards, the stalk, and then, yeah, you push away to increase the speed, you pull to reduce the speed, and what's down? Down is off. So, no, actually. So you pull it towards you to initiate, and then down. So if you pull it towards you again, it's to reduce the speed, pull it away, or push it away to increase the speed. Right, finally resolved it. It's taken me a while to work that out. So that's the in-depth tour and review around the 2010 BMW 1 Series. Overall, it's a smashing little car, but if you're on the hunt for one of these, a good one that is, there isn't going to be many out there. Most of these cars are treated like pets, a piece of meat, and tend to have very uncaring owners, certainly after they dropped a lot in price in its early years. Therefore, if you want a fun car and it's going to blow a hole in your wallet, then get this. If not, then I suggest you get a Golf. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next review.